Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app and, of course, on YouTube at the Team 980. And this is the new head coach of the Washington Wizards, Brian Keefe. Are you used to that introduction yet? How long will it take?
It'll take a couple of days, but a little humbling. But like I think I said, really grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah, I think that for a guy like you, there's so many interesting ways to take a conversation about what it means to become a head coach. You've been an assistant for so long, but I've just heard from too many guys that 6 inches between the lead assistant job and the head job is the biggest 6 inches you'll find in basketball. So for you, when you think about that challenge, like what are some of the things that you go, oh, I know I can do this as an assistant, but you're curious to test things out as a head coach? Yeah,
I obviously got a little bit of opportunity to do that this year. I always took it very seriously as assistant, so I still felt that, but I think as a head coach you feel responsible now for everything and everybody. That's something I don't take lightly, but also super excited for the challenge of that. The one thing I really believe in is the collaboration, that we're all doing this together. We started those steps, building those when I was coaching, and I think we're going to continue to that. I just look forward to that throughout the summer, building our processes and how we're going to build this thing going forward.
Was there a thing that stuck out to you as like, oh, this is a bigger part of this head job than maybe you thought as you went through those 30 games? I
think I go back to the responsibility part. You want to see, when you're entrusted by your bosses and the powers that be in the organization that you're going to be in a leadership role, you want to make sure that things are operating on a high level. I probably can't say that there's one thing specifically, oh, that was different. I think those things you take into account. You want it to go well, and you want to be a person who can help lead this organization to our next stage.
That word collaboration comes up a lot
Sure.
when you're talking to people in your building, and I'm so curious for you as a guy that, like, Will has always talked about, we're going to let our coaches coach the team, but he clearly has strong thoughts on style of play, et cetera,
Sure.
In terms of pace and all the different shot diets, whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah.
How does that relationship work of making sure that you're coaching the team but also executing the vision that they set forth?
I think that's the part that excites me so much, because there's so much shared values in this stuff, not just as people, but also in how to build, and values in what we look for in players and style of play. That's the benefit of, I've worked with Michael and Will for a very long time. So I think we're all about finding the best solution. And that's true collaboration, is that when you can have, I think Will said it, these honest conversations to find the best way going forward. We're just trying to find the right way, not our way.
Story time. Will mentioned you guys met in 2008.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that encounter?
Will came to work for us in Oklahoma City. You could tell very quickly that he was going to have a very bright career, someone who was very curious, hardworking, and then the level of person he was. He was going to be someone who was going to have a job that he has today. So no surprise by me, because all of us who were around him at that age we knew that this guy has a bright future.
Are you like, that's a guy I'm going to work with, or are you immediately like, no, that's a guy I'm going to work for?
I think we probably thought this is a guy we could all maybe work for someday, for sure.
Brian Keefe, the head coach of the Washington Wizards, with us here on the Hoffman Show. To get into the basketball a little bit, what are some things that you like? Playing fast, obviously, you want to shoot threes in the modern NBA.
Sure.
There's a lot of basic things that I think every basketball fan understands. Right. But how do you go about ensuring that those things happen, or what are some things that you're looking to really enforce in year 2, year 1.5, whatever you want to call this upcoming season, from a basketball tactical standpoint?
I think you want to build something that's going to be sustainable, that works in the playoffs. And obviously we're in the acquisition part of some of our players and learning some of our players. So I always think that we're going to be in a part where philosophically, we want to play fast. We want to shoot threes. We want to share the ball. But I think we're going to be also looking to how we best use our guys. How can we best use the strengths of our roster? How can we bring out the best of them as a group? So I think that there was definitely some experimental phases to that. Like, what's going to really work for us, that something's going to, when we are ready to be sustainable winner in the playoffs, what's that going to translate to? So we're going to be pushing the limits on that stuff. And that's what me and my staff will be excited about doing.
Can I ask you a philosophical coaching question
Sure.
here? So there's a phrase that I really love when it comes to coaching. Methods are many, principles are few. Methods don't always last, principles always do. Differentiating between things that are high, overarching, and the ways that you accomplish those things.
Sure.
So as you kind of think about your tactics and bend things to fit your personnel, how do you draw the lines between what is a principle, what is like we want to play X way versus a method of we want to, whether it's run a certain set or make sure that when we get the rebound we're looking for a certain outlet pass or whatever those very more minute tactical things are. Where are those lines drawn?
I think principles are the ones that are probably going to carry the day. Those are the things that are going to push your organization forward. Those are the things that you can lay your that's the word, I guess. Lay your hat on.
Lay your head down to sleep.
Yeah, like those are the things, the staples.
Hang your hat, I think maybe.
Hang your hat.
That's
the word I was looking for. Yeah, hang your hat on.
I'm not just the sayings guy now.
No, you got them all. So those are the things that I think that are the things that's sustainable. How you get to some of those things, the tweaks you make, that's as we explore our roster, as our players develop. Those are the things that you fit in and weave in. But the core beliefs and how we're going to operate and how we're going to do stuff on a day-to-day basis, those are the things that are really going to push us forward.
Obviously a big turning point for you last year and kind of the way people saw you and maybe even your head coaching candidacy. I don't know. I'd have to ask Will this question, is the change in Jordan Poole's year. The conversation that you guys had, much famed at this point of, hey, man, sorry, we're going to the bench. He wasn't thrilled about it, but his performance took off. And then the way he was able to finish the season. How do you see Jordan as a basketball player for this team?
First of all, Jordan, and I've said this many times, Jordan is a great example for the type of player we want. This is a guy who truly loves the game, who is very diligent about working on his craft. He's just a great example for all of our players on the amount of time it is to be a good player. I've said this many times, we wanted to put the ball in Jordan's hands more, to be able to attack, not just for himself, but his teammates. And I think we saw that when we allowed him to get more to that. He had more success. This is a guy I believe in totally because of his character and who he is and how he cares about the game. So I couldn't be more excited to coach Jordan.
How do you tap into that? Because one conversation I remember having in the middle of the year with someone, I think it was Michael or Will, was basically if Jordan watched Jordan play defense with the amount that I know Jordan cares about the game, there's no way he's watching going like, yeah, I'm crushing it. There's some plays where he allows easy straight line drives, all the things that I'm sure you talked to him about and the rest of your staff talked to him about. How did you tap into that to get the performance to match the mentality?
I told Jordan from the get-go, and I tell it to all of our players, that we have a shared standard. It's not just mine. We're going to have expectations how we're going to operate. And when I told Jordan I just want him to be more aggressive offensively, that also means that there's responsibilities on the other end. He's still not there yet, and he would be the first to admit that. But that's what we're in the process of doing, is improving. And I believe in Jordan's character, that he's going to get there because this is a guy who truly cares about the game.
Brian Keefe with us for another minute or two here on the Hoffman Show. It was funny because so many of the stories that came out once you took over is like basically he's this hard-ass Massachusetts guy, like he's really hard and uncompromising. But then you hear more stories and it's about the character that you're talking about and connection you have with players, which is so much echoes, so much of what we've heard in the last year since Michael and Will got here.
Yeah.
How do you think about balancing those things in terms of I am both uncompromising but I am human?
To me, I talked about it. I think you heard me say this in the press conference. The relationship part is such a huge part to me. That allows you to coach guys, that you care. But we can have honest conversations. And they can have honest conversations with me. This goes two ways.
I think that's huge, yeah.
It's not just me. Because at the end of the day, we're about getting better. And the only way I think we believe about getting better as an organization is if you can have that. So to me, when you can tell the truth, players might not always like it right away. But they can respect it. And I think that's how we have always looked at it.
Do you have a story of a guy coming to you, that two-way street?
I can, but I probably can't repeat him on the on this show right now. Off the record, maybe. So
okay, we'll get that, and we'll just meekly reference it at some point 6 months from now.
Sure.
And people forgot that. You may perhaps have been the one to tell me that. Ava, to ask you this last question, just like you think of that first team meeting, you think of that first thing of coming together, like you walk back into that room and now it's not, hey, I'm here. I'm not the substitute teacher. I'm the teacher now. Like, what do you imagine for that first team meeting? And how long have you been thinking about preparing for that moment?
You know, I don't know if it's going to be much different. When I had the opportunity to take over and I found out that very quickly, my whole goal was to pour myself into the players. Nothing's changing with that.
Yeah.
Obviously, yes, I'm the full-time now. That is different, but it's not going to change how I act. I acted like I'm going to act now, and I'm going to continue to do that. And that's who I am.
It's a model of consistency. Brian Keefe, everybody, the 26th head coach in the history of the Washington Wizards. Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
This is The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.